The first part will be these wonderful people who have agreed to tell us more about past floods, present floods, and hopefully not future floods. We are very grateful to all of them for coming, but what we really would like tonight is to hear from you. So they're going to keep their presentation short. They've all agreed to do that. And then it's your turn. And we will pass this around so that you can tell your stories of the volume and velocity of water which came to us in the last week. So the first on our panel for speaking is going to be Bob Merrell, who grew up in this town. And I think I knew him when he was about this big. But since then, he's done a lot of wonderful things, especially in geology. He is a geologist who is now living in Texas, but he got his degree from the University of...
Actually, Arizona State.
Arizona State. I said it wrong. Okay.
Thank you, Nancy. It's a pleasure to be here, and I was going to be here tonight anyway, because your scheduled speaker was a geologist, and I've been giving him information about the geology of Greensboro. But tonight, I just want to cover a couple of things. One is, how did this occur? What conditions did this extreme rain event, what generated that? And then I drove to Mooresville the morning of the rain and realized that we needed to get back from Price Chopper in a hurry because I saw what was going under the bridge in Hardwick below the dam. And then subsequently I've been to Mooresville, and I've got some observations about flooding through there, and I'll fill you in a little bit about what happens here on Caspian Lake and why Caspian Lake is where it is. So first of all, the extreme rain event was actually caused by the jet stream. So you know what the jet stream is, right? If you look at the 500 millibar level, which is about, 18,000 feet or so, and the velocity of the winds and the wind directions, normally that goes east-west. And it goes east-west because there is a subpolar low over Iceland and north, and then there's a subtropical high near Portugal, or offshore Portugal, and to the east. When those two are strong, so you strong low, strong high, the jet stream goes between them. So what's happened this summer is the subpolar low and the subtropical high actually weakened. And that happens periodically. It's not unusual. And when that happens, the jet stream takes this big loop north over Greenland and then back down. And this year it was the perfect storm. So we had that jet stream was pushing all the moisture up the east coast of North America. And you had the normal fronts coming from the west, and they met right over Greensboro. And thus we got all this rain. So it's a matter of, and the other part about it is, and if you look at what's going on in the world in June and July, we have warm and wet in southern Europe. It's usually dry, it's fairly dry in northern Europe. Again, that's typical of the weak subpolar low and the weak subtropical high. What's happened in the last few days is those two features have strengthened. So right now, the jet stream has been moving to the south and is starting to move, and it'll give us a more normal pattern. So we won't get, at least in the near term, we're not going to have another deluge, if that makes you feel any better. Actually, I've looked at the projections over the next couple of weeks, and that's what it looks like. Now, let's talk about Caspian, actually the geology of Caspian. So Caspian Lake is a glacial, dug out by the glaciers. So we had a mile or more of ice here 20,000, 30,000 years ago. That's melted, and when it melted, it built up, so we dug this hole, this now Caspian Lake, and where the current dam is and where the public beach is, that was a glacial moraine, and that dammed up Caspian Lake. One of my favorite quotes about Caspian was written in 1914, the geologist who was doing the work here. He said, with a shovel, he could drain Caspian. All he had to do was dig through the moraine. So that's why Caspian is here, and the dam and the beach and all of that. That's where the moraine was and is, and so they put the dam in to control the level of the lake. So what about flooding? And we don't see, we didn't, yes, we had floods in Greensboro. We had a lot of water running down the roads, doing terrific damage. But that's not what I'm going to talk about in terms of floods. I want to talk about the floodplain itself, the river and the floodplain. So when you have a river like the Lamoille, most rivers have an active floodplain. That active floodplain can be expected to be flooded maybe every 10 years or less. That's the active floodplain. It's just a little bit above the current riverbank. So why in Houston did I buy my house on the top of the natural levee of the Brazos River? It's the highest point. And we didn't flood in Harvey. We had no problems. But anyway, so you have the active floodplain, then you have the inactive floodplain, and that's the higher. So when the glaciers disappeared, there was a lot of water flowing, and so down the bend, there's a huge lake over in the Lamoille Valley at that time. As these drained and the water tended to decrease, as the rivers got narrower, they left, and the rivers moved too. So as you have a big meander, the river cuts in the meander, but it leaves the bank on the other side. If you look at the Lamoille today, you have the active floodplain, and most of the Lamoille, it looks to me, or my interpretation is, that the active floodplain was inundated. In a few places, it was higher than that. Why would it go on to the inactive floodplain in certain places? Because think about just towards Wolcott from Hardwick. There's some large area that could flood there. So that carried a lot of water. Well, then suddenly, the Lamoille gets a lot narrower. So you've got all this water trying to go through a narrow gap, and it's going to back up the water. But for the most part, the inactive floodplain in this event really wasn't flooded. Yes, there was a lot of damage. Most of that damage occurred in the active floodplain, and some of it occurred above that. So geologically then, what we're talking about is we need to understand where we are with respect to the river, the active floodplain, the inactive floodplain. But the other thing I probably should mention goes back to the glacial geology, because that's one of my things that I like to talk about the most, and that is that most of Greensboro has no gravel, right?
Right.
Why is that? Because all the streams that were generated alongside the glaciers were in the valleys. So there's some in the towards the bend, and then as you go towards East Hardwick, again you're in the low area, and you had all these gravel deposits being done. Glover's another area with a lot of gravel deposits around us. So the gravel deposits are all around us. They came from the glacial deposition. So with that, I will turn the agenda over to the next person.
Clay has done a lot of research on the 27 flood. So this is our the historical part. Thank you.
Yeah, I opened my computer this morning and I take Vermont Digger. I'm sure some of you also take the Digger. And guess what? The whole article was about the flood of 1927. Now, are people actually thinking that maybe this might happen again? Because they're giving it a lot of attention, exactly what happened in 1927. And there is something of a cycle in these types of events. So I do want to talk a little bit about what happened in 1927, which was far, far worse than anything we experienced recently. Maybe for reasons because of the time of the year. It took place in November after a hard freeze, and the ground itself was not able to absorb water. So it ran off directly into the creeks and rivers. It came from a northeaster, a storm that came up the coast, completely different than the current storms we're having, which are smaller. This was a hurricane-style event, and the northeaster got blocked by the Green Mountains and just sat there. And we also had some conflicts going on in terms of Caspian Lake. That summer, during the rainstorms that took place that summer in the build-up to this November event, a number of floodings took place of camps because Hardwick Electric had refused to let any water over the dam. That was their policy at that time, and they owned the dam. So a group of dam owners, Herbert Terrell was one of the largest and wealthiest of this group, had 44 acres on Windermere area, filed a lawsuit in St. Johnsbury against Hardwick Electric, and that was going on and had been settled before November took place. And he won that lawsuit. In other words, Hardwick Electric had to pay him his losses for not opening the the dam to allow it to be adjusted during those summer storms. But now comes November. After numerous storms like we've had during the summer, on top of that, the nor'easter arrived here. It was not well understood or known how dangerous it is. And it started raining on November 2nd, 1927, and continued raining for 2 days. I think the first day was 12 inches. It did stop for a while and then started again the next day. It was devastating to the whole situation, which was already flooding. It was not restricted to this area. It went all over Vermont. It was the hurricane-style winds. And just the article today, and the Vermont Digger is totally dedicated to this, so it's a good way to catch up on it if you're interested. Again, I think secretly they're getting people, let's say, a little bit apprehensive that this could happen again. But there were 84 people were killed. It's a huge, huge problem, including the Lieutenant Governor of Vermont. 1,300 homes were ruined, which is a large number. 187 were totally destroyed. 200 barns were totally destroyed, and many, many cattle and pigs and so forth, and sheep. But 84 people being killed is just disastrous. And began to struggle then with the issue of how they could save the store here in Greensboro. Culberson's, I think that's the name, the way it's pronounced, Culberson Store. Because the waters were going over the dam, even though no adjustments had been made, the waters were flowing over the dams into Culberson's store and destroying it. So on the evening of November 4th, and this is according to the wife of the minister here of this church, she wrote a little note about it, which has been preserved. On the evening of November 4th, 1927, all able-bodied men in Greensboro were to get out there and start carrying sandbags to try to block the water at the dam so it would not destroy the store for Greensboro. But only a few hours later, the rainwater broke through and flooded the store. The following day, Caspian Lake began to overflow completely into an outlet stream, and a rumor started in Hardwick, according to these materials, that the entire shore of Caspian Lake was going to destruct. And the whole lake would be dumped on Hardwick. And there were demonstrations on the streets, I'm told, in Hardwick. And they didn't find out till well after this event, when they did testing, that it was a completely rock ledge. It would not have collapsed. But there was just people terrified over the whole situation where they were out of control. The investigation found that they were on solid rock. The impact of this storm was such that the President of the United States showed up and made his normal tour, Calvin Coolidge, and made a number of, one famous thing he said was he called Vermont, what was it, it was the grand little state, I think it was. Yeah, sorry. Anyway, that made the news worldwide, and he made this following comments: "I love Vermont because of her hills and valleys. It's a race of pioneers who beggared themselves to serve others, and the spirit of liberty should vanish in other parts of the Union, should be established in other parts of the Union, and support our institutions. There's a generous store of faith in the people of this brave little state of Vermont." So we could go into a lot of details about the flood itself, the people involved, and we can do that in the questions.
Welcome, everyone.
This is Stuart Arnold, by the way.
Stu Arnold. I live on Caspian year-round now, one of the year-round summer people. This storm, as Clay mentions, started with a lot of wetness ahead of it. We had a rain event that we all witnessed, the parking lot of Willie's getting washed out just a week before. We had another rain event that was pretty heavy, and we basically saturated the whole watershed. So this rain event was, you'll see in a slide later, about 8 inches. And that doesn't sound like much against the 12 and the future that the 27 flood brought to us. So this was maybe compared to Irene as a hurricane in 2011. There was another storm in 1973 where the first motel went in the river. So there's some repeats that are going on here. So my part is just to tell you what happened in this storm. So we got back from New Hampshire like Bob did from Morrisville, and it was raining pretty hard. Sitting in the car watching the rain come down on Craftsbury Road, just north of North Shore Road, just north of, and this was the rain that was creating a waterfall. The culvert is up a little bit higher in the picture that was blocked, and it came down to this lower section, and you'll see in a moment what this looks like a day later. So here's Willie's parking lot. This is again Monday, July 10th at about 7 p.m. It's been raining for a while, most of the day now here, and this is washing again at Willie's. This is looking down Breezy Avenue towards the beach road. It's gushing pretty good here. Becky and I drove into the dam. John Schweitzer and I are very integral in the observations of the dam because of other times, 4 years ago, for instance. So I seen this is the south end of the dam wall, and it's only about 7 inches left here, and this was alarming to me. So we go back, seeing the heavy flow here, and the culverts are nearly full, but still flowing. But I was nervous that this was going to be an extreme event, and so we hurried around the lake. Now this is Lakeshore Road, where tributaries that are normally dry are just saturated again and pouring into and starting to cause the culverts that this one became 3 feet deep a day or two later. This is south of Aspenhurst. So this is not even usually a brook. This is at the bottom of Cook Hill Road. This is coming down Lakeshore, Cook Hill. Here's Edsel Road, already being washed out. Again, this is 7 p.m. on Monday, and the lake hasn't even gotten over. This is Campbell Corner, and looking up towards Circus Smirkus Road. Here's North Shore Road, just from Campbell Corner, already getting gullies. Here's the North Shore Road just shy of Craftsbury Road when it was still intact. But I determined with these cuts in it, this was not passable, and we had to turn around. This was my hand, as I didn't have a ruler with me, I was trying to see how much left, and this is about 4 inches left by the time we got back to the dam again. And so this is about 4 inches of room, and the culvert now is even fuller. So I get home and I called the dam safety engineer, who's in my phone, because of 4 years ago and a few months. We had an April event, and we were this high then, and John Schweitzer and I decided we needed to call the dam engineers, and they did, and they came out, and we, by authorization of them, they could adjust the weir that's at our dam and open it right up. And that year we got to it, and you'll see, I'll show you how high that event got to be. So gushing water coming over the top of the spillway, but still below the walls on north, and the north is to the right, and the south wall. So here's the south wall the next morning. It's just lapping onto the south wall. And this is where we were 4 years ago in that April timeframe. That's where it peaked. And this is the peak that I know to be the highest ever. There may be other events that I'm unaware of, but this is the highest that we had ever seen before. So we swing around. Here's Craftsbury Road the next morning. We've already lost half the highway of the pavement. There's a water just pouring over. So now here's North Shore Road, where we stopped and turned around. But a night later, you definitely have to turn around. And this didn't get fixed for days. Fortunately, it got fixed within the week, though. Again, here's the water gushing through here. North Shore Road, near Craftsbury Road. So now we come back to the dam the next morning. This is the 11th of July. We're getting more water over the dam. The first time we're wetting the lawn behind it. And it's starting to, when I talked to the dam engineers, I said, should we sandbag this, force it through the spillway? What will this lawn do? And he recommended, no, don't sandbag this. Let's let the water go over. It's not eroding. It's not accelerating here. And you want that extra width to spill out the lake at this time. If it drops, we might put some tarps down to protect the lawn, but fortunately it held up. So here's, just rippling over. Just pictures of lots of water coming over the dam and the force there. And looking downstream. Now downstream has a turn here, comes around behind Craig Dizel and Janet Dinsdale and Janet Longs, and then to Miller's Thumb, and I'll have a picture of that. And that's the cautionary area. How much water's flowing down here, and what might happen. This is why we need environmental preparedness. So it gets a little bit later in the day on the 11th. This is Tuesday. It starts coming over pretty higher up. I get some measurements for 4.5 inches over this wall versus just lapping over the wall. So it went up 4 more inches in just 6 hours on Tuesday. The lake did. And this is because the whole 4,000 acres is saturated. So every inch of rain that fell in our watershed produced about a 4-inch rise in the lake. That's how much. We've seen 4 inches rises in the lake before, but not because of just 1 inch of rain. So this is now a bit of erosion near the dam wall. We are very cautious. Lots of pictures going to the dam engineer on this. And but they remained concerned yet not alarmed that we were going to have to deal with anything more than just wait it out here. That one's not cropped very well. But again, you can see this is the water. This is a graph of showing where was the water. Woodbury had 9 inches of rain in these, 7 days. This is a 7-day picture. We were around 8, 2 of them, just around 8 inches by this graph or chart. So other areas had stuff, but if you look here, we're the one with the biggest lake in any of these, and we really took it with from the height of 27 inches. So on the Sunday before the event to the Wednesday after the event, the lake went up 27 inches. Here's now the late Wednesday. It's starting to recede, so we had crested. The water's no longer spilling over here, so things are calming back. These next pictures I haven't seen yet. Kyle threw these in from you. These are people that might be here tonight or might not be, of their pictures, their story, and we want to hear some of yours. There's Eligo, Lake Road, power poles. This is on what it looked like. I don't know what the July 11th is, but July 2nd. Different, how much the water should be going through these culverts, but when it has too much force, it creates its own path. Here's Grassberry Road, another view. Grassberry Road again. So this took a while for them to fill in and repair. So we were out for almost a week on Grassberry Road. Here again, North Shore Road, Grassberry Road. Here's Gagne Road down in the bend, pretty much taken right out. Here's where the water should have gone, but then it meets Mother Nature. So this road, it's gone. There'll be so much gravel to fix and replace this. the town's going to be planning forever on this. Edsel Road, fortunately not that many people live up Edsel Road and Gebby Road. Gebby Road looks like this right now. And Gebby Road became the main artery to Craftsbury right away. So there were trucks and everything running up this way for one lane. And it switches sides, and it's 4 feet deep for a while on one side and then switches to the other side. Fortunately, a lot of driveways got repaired. Oh, there was a video there. Let's see what that was. Yeah. This is Gebby Road as well. Just lots of water coming down. More ponding up. This is Gebby Road. You just see the force. Gebby Road. But fortunately, the road held, didn't cross the road. When it has the angular momentum from another brook, that's when it cuts across the road. But Gebby Road stayed intact, except for the sides. Yeah. Culverts exposed, road fabric exposed. So this is, I took this picture today. We were at Schoolhouse Road behind the Methodist Church in the Bend. And this gentleman's house, it was stayed intact. This gravel all came around. He got his first car out to Smith's store and parked it, walked back up, and this car was already buried in the gravel. And this gravel is not just gravel. These are boulders the size of, grapefruits and volleyballs that made up this. So it's mud. So this is existing right now. You can walk out and see this. So it's just Baker Hill up, to Clive and Nancy's. They've got to go around these things. Bar Hill Road. So there's spots that are closed. Bear notice of that. Be patient. Wait your turn. There's other people being served. There are hundreds of trucks moving. Standard Mountain Road. I haven't seen these. Just trees. This is like the Lamoille side, the side of the Lamoille banks, down past Hardwick. This is Old Schoolhouse Road again. This is the brook under this little bridge that normally is running, but then the road is just gone onto to the left. So this is Miller's Thumb on one side, looking to the west, and the beach road's on the other side. I was watching this daily. My concern was if a tree between the dam on Caspian had been eroded and had created a blockage here, as to what that might do if it couldn't move all of this tremendous amount of water through underneath the Miller's Thumb and then underneath Willie's store. If it was to get blocked here, it's a major concern that this would then create a channel, just like a block culvert, and decide to go left or right around Miller's Thumb, or take out its foundation and lose the whole building, and then we'd lose Willie's. This is the biggest concern that I have for a future event, is that we need to make sure that this building can sustain this water flow with an aging foundation and an aging. It was shored up. Anna told me about it by the prior owners. She's had it inspected, and she listened to boulders go tumbling through, and stayed open. So that's my slideshow.
So Carl Stein, your intrepid health officer. And so my role tonight is just to talk about what the preparedness was that was actually started on Sunday day. We were getting, the governor was already calling up the reserves, and we got, all the rescue services got notices that they were setting up an incident command in the State Center, and that one of our roles would be to report places where, and towns that would get isolated, we wouldn't be able to get emergency services to. So that started on Sunday. I was on Sunday night, and our first emergency that we dealt with was the dam above Woodbury Pond. Woodbury Pond, is that the name? Yeah. The dam above that broke, and that water all came down pretty much at once. And Cove Road looked like a river. It took out a bunch of trees and the telephone pole, and this is what was on the radio. I can't say anything beyond that, but what happened was the power line came down on a 600 volt line. When that breaks off, it starts whipping around, and it actually wrapped itself around the car. And I want to use this as a warning. We had smart people in that car, and I ask everybody to be smart. They stayed in the car. They didn't try to get out. They would have been electrocuted. And that decision saved their lives. So, and we, were staging, and just in case there was anything that went wrong. In the meantime, we had people at the building. Tyler Moeller was heading that up. For those of you who know him, he's the weatherman and a nurse and an AEMT for Hardwick Rescue, and he took control of organizing all of the crews that were in Hardwick, the people in Hardwick, notifying all of us that were outside of Hardwick. And we all went, the idea was all the towns would be isolated. We work off the worst case scenario. And we made sure that we all were supplied with the emergency equipment we would need to deal with emergencies. So every town had first responders who would respond if we couldn't get an ambulance to them. The Air National Guard has a crew of Black Hawk helicopters, 2 of them which are surgical units, which were mobilized, and they were ready to take off and land. They're the only helicopters that can land in bad weather. DART and HealthNet can't take off in bad weather. So those, we had access to those. Our job was to know what landing zones were accessible, which weren't. So there was a whole bunch of preparation. Every few hours, people from the towns, the first responders would go out, locate the roads that were flooded, and we would come back, report to the base, and then the base would report to Incident Command in Montpelier. In Burlington, in Colchester, in where the Incident Command Center was set up. So that's the maps for those of you who were looking at which roads were closed. That was all the EMS services around the state reporting, and road crews and fire departments, I believe, right? Yep. We're all reporting where the road closures were, and making plans for if there was an emergency. The miracle is we had very few calls. No one died. That was, given the disaster and the amount of things that could have gone wrong, for us it was busy, but it wasn't, we didn't lose anybody. We didn't have any everybody stayed relatively healthy. And it's a good thing, because what happened from Monday night through to Wednesday is the only hospital we could get to was Newport. We could not get to any of the other hospitals. And that, to get there, is usually a 40-minute drive for us. That was an hour and 15 minutes to get up there. And it was a dangerous drive. It wasn't, so all the planning worked. We were lucky. We at least had one hospital. Some towns had no access to any hospitals. So that was going on behind the scenes all, throughout this whole scene. It's still going on. We're still reporting openings and stuff. The other role I play is I work with the Medical Reserve Corps. And that now is becoming the real active role. The Medical Reserve Corps in the state, and anybody can volunteer with them, so please do. We are called up as volunteers to work anywhere where people need help. So there's a state 211 number right now that you can call and volunteer. And we get MRC members get notices asking us, they just today needed 200 volunteers up to the state to go to the labs and just make water testing kits. At the Hardwick Elementary School, Monday to Wednesday, you can go pick up water test kits. If your well or spring if your well had 2 inches of water or more, you should be testing your water. For anywhere from 3 to 6 hours, you should be testing your water. If your spring saw any flow over it at all, you should be testing your springs. The kits are free. You pick them up at Hardwick Elementary, or you go online and you can order them, but they're free right now. And it's not rocket science, but I'm available for anybody who doesn't feel like they can do it. But all you do is take this kit, break the seal, run your water for 5 minutes out of your faucet, and then put the bottle under there, fill it to the line, seal it, put it in the bag with an ice pack that they provide, and you take it to the Department of Mental Health. That's what I need at this point. The Department of Health. That was definitely a slip. Judy's over there laughing. She understands. You take it there by 2 o'clock and you'll have results within 24 hours.
That's the Morrisville office.
The Morrisville office on Professional Drive, Hannaford's. I couldn't remember the name of the store today. So anyway, and spread that word around, let people know. There will be more clinics, there will be tests available in other places. The other thing I really want to encourage people to do, our driveway got washed out on this. Our pond up behind our house that used to be our hydroelectric pond let loose, and it came down the stream on the north side, and it washed out our bottom of our driveway. I'm reporting that to FEMA. It didn't cost me. My neighbor, Bill, I just lost his name. Hardy. Thank you, Bill Hardy. Came down and he fixed it for us. But if we're going to get Orleans County declared a disaster so we can get our businesses and our local people help, everything you report counts, whether you paid any money or not. You are saving the state money and you are saving people money. So no matter how much damage you had, we had probably a few inches of water in our basement, all that gets reported. So please spread the word. Call, you can either call or go online with the 211. You'll see the link there, and you can make your report. It is a little cumbersome, but not as bad as you think.
Take
Yes, absolutely. And take pictures of what's not damaged, too. You can't take too many pictures. You can only take too little, okay? Everything. Thank you for reminding me of that. And that's it. That's all I've got.
Well, Carl was really busy with all of that behind-the-scenes stuff, and I, too, was kind of behind your scene. People started asking about, because they heard in the news, it's not safe to swim.
Oh.
And so we got a test kit, and now there's plenty of test kits. We're going to test the rest of the summer. But the good news is the lake is very suitable for swimming. It wouldn't meet drinkability, but because there is a positive E. coli presence, but it's very negligible, and the numbers of 11 at the South Shore and 12 on the North Shore. So these are like, they close beaches when it's 2:35. So this is a very negligible number. So our lake was pristine before, and it is now just shy of that.
I'm Dave Brochu, I'm the fire chief, and I'm just going to elaborate a little more on the behind-the-scenes stuff. But I also want to let you know that FEMA, Salvation Army, Red Cross, and a whole slew of other Vermont government agencies are at Hardwick Elementary for the next till Wednesday. So if you, I don't think you can file any claims with FEMA in Orleans County yet because it hadn't been declared a disaster zone, unfortunately.
Well, I was told that you
But
go ahead and file your
Correct.
claim. They
Yes.
won't process it
Correct.
until. So
But-
go ahead and get your
but
work done.
They've got a whole slew of people down there, and they'll be down there for the next 3 days. They're handing out disaster kits, shovels, rakes, bottled water, food baskets. So take advantage of it if you need it. I just want to pass that along. They set up this morning. They'll be there till Wednesday. So from my perspective, we did a lot of behind-the-scenes work, as Carl did. I had people driving starting Monday night, going to the different roads, reporting to me on road closures, so we could plan to send whatever emergency personnel we possibly could through the roads to help you people out. I kept reporting to Kim. Last phone call I made to her was at midnight on Monday night, and then we started all over again at 5 a.m. when I met with the road crew up here to determine the extent of some of the major road closures we had. I was in coordination with the Hardwick Fire Chief, and I was talking to Craftsbury Fire Department as well, because Greensboro was fairly isolated in places. Hardwick had the same situation, so we provided coverage on the East Hardwick side of Route 16 for Hardwick Fire Department. I had Craftsbury Fire Department providing coverage on the other side of Craftsbury Road and up on Uri Road and up Rock Road, because Rock Road wasn't passable for a while for fire trucks. Four-wheel drive trucks could have made it, but fire trucks did not. So we're in constant communication. I met with Hardwick Rescue on several occasions to update them on all the road closures we had in Greensboro so that they could plan where they were going and coordinate with the road crew. And then following, when everything subsided, we've been helping the town blowing out culverts for them with the fire trucks so that they can open them up and get the roads fixed and back in good shape for people to travel on. Granted, there's still a lot of one-lane roads out there, so please be careful. I would like to say that we had no emergencies that night. We thought we were going to have to go Hardwick Fire because they did some rescues, people driving on Route 15 through the middle of the village and not making it in front of the fire station, so they had to get a couple of those people out. They had a couple people they could not even get to. They were trapped on the other side of the corner store in Hardwick. They came off the hill, they called for help, and Hardwick Fire said, there is no way we can get to you. Nothing we could do about it. Several of the rescues in the town of Hardwick were made by bucket loaders. They were tall enough and strong enough to withstand the current going down Route 15. We were very fortunate. Everybody in Greensboro, I would say, stayed home because we had no problems, and we truly appreciate that.
Yes. Very much so.
As Stu pointed out, he got to the point of the road where the water was coming over and said, you know what? I don't think so. Very smart move, and we need more people to think like that. It doesn't look like much water until you're in the middle of it, and then it's not water anymore. It's a very deep hole, like some of the holes that formed on the Ben Road heading down to Greensboro Bend. That's all I have. Carl pretty much covered everything else from my end of it, so. Sorry.
One more quick behind the scenes. I just wanted to report to you all. During the pandemic, the emergency relief team asked that a community relief fund be started, and at that time, during the pandemic, the Greensboro Association helped facilitate a community relief fund, and this Greensboro community responded with an amazing response to help have a sum of money that could go back out into the community and to help support the greatest need. And so when this event happened, part of the team said, we've got the structure for that, let's put out the word. And so that has happened, and once again, the community is responding in a very significant way. We've already amassed quite a nice sized sum, and thank you to very many of you. It's only been about, 10 days or 2 weeks, but that money is already, the grants committee is working hard to send that money back out, and it's going, I think they're doing a terrific job of sending it to, some is going to the food pantry for greater need, some is going to the Center for an Ag Economy has created a food voucher plan, so that a grocery voucher, so that those who are in need can come and get a grocery voucher and use it at all of the many area stores, including the 2 Jenny's and the Willie's store and the Smith's, and I think I'm maybe missing a couple, but so that kind of helps in both ways to help support our community. And also there's an organization called NECO, Northeast Kingdom Organizing. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, and they are helping people to muck out their basements and do all kinds of that kind of support. So a good sized grant has gone to help that organization. So I couldn't be more proud of this community for their response, and it's still happening. And if you want to provide financial support for this kind of thing, the Greensboro Association is happy to help facilitate that. And there's a P.O. Box 59 in Greensboro. So anyway, just wanted to update you on that. Thank you very much.
One other thing I forgot, and it is important. With the Walgreens closed at this point, if you know anybody that is having trouble getting their prescriptions, Hardwick Rescue has a group of volunteers that will go to Morrisville and pick up your prescriptions there. And they're, what?
There's no Walgreens in
Yeah, well,
go to Lisbon.
you can go to
CVS.
You can go to CVS, and CVS has a voucher. There's a code that we use to have the prescription changed to different drugstores.
And I made 2 trips to Linden.
Yes, you didn't. You can call 211 and get that code too. Okay, but get the word out. This has just come together over the last 4 or 5 days. So, because we do know people are struggling out there.
In answer also to what you're saying, Carl, Walgreens has now got a van that is going to be giving out prescriptions, a big van parked beside the store. And they're hoping to have that operational sometime this week. This is all unofficial, not from headquarters, but It takes a while because they've got to fix in the communications with doctors' offices and stuff like that. But the reason I was given, Tops is up and running. Walgreens is not as a store. Tops had cinder block walls. Walgreens had drywall. Drywall is a messy stuff to mess with when it's been flooded with polluted water. That's going to be 4 to 6 weeks, I've been told unofficially.
Right, that's what we heard too.
I have a question for Stu. The dam, it looks to me that some of the grass close to where the dam is has now kind of fallen down. And I would assume from that the a lot of water was passing by the cement. Is the dam been weakened or?
I wouldn't say that the dam's been weakened. The cement structure is intact as far as we can see. That area is the most erosion that took place. And the dam engineers have seen it. 3 days ago, they sent an inspection team out. It was a gentleman from New York and a gentleman from Vermont, DEC. This was not a dam safety engineer that I've worked with, but they came out, they inspected the dam, and they've reported back too. So they'll be getting back with anything that's alarming and will come out. Hardwick Electric also knows about this situation, and if you see, there's 2 slabs of granite that haven't been put in the river wall that was destined for that corner. So Mike Sullivan of Hardwick Electric already knows about. We walked the property together 5 days ago when it was swirling in there, and when we, at some point in time in the near future, I imagine Hardwick Electric will replace that area very soon. So it's on their radar. We need the water to get down so they can work there, and I think that will get done very quickly, that particular section.
Why did the nor'easter come so far inland?
That I can't answer. All I know is...
Good answer, thank you. Bob Merrell, is this climate change or not?
Well, I'm going to stay away from saying this is climate change.
Okay.
But one thing I should tell you is, remember, we live in the mountains here, and I haven't seen some of these pictures that Stu had. And at least the one in the Greensboro Bend, we would call it debris flow. In other words, this is something that happens globally in the mountains. When you get a water dump like this, and all the little spots that were eroding along the roads, all of that's flowing in, and when it comes together, it's a debris flow. The good news is nobody was hurt. I was reading about a debris flow the other day, and I think they had something like 30 people were killed, and they're still missing 87. So remember, we're in the mountains, and whenever there's a rain event like this, we can expect significant erosion.
Carl, how do the people know to stay in the car?
I don't know the answer to that other than either they learned it in high school and remembered it, that it's not safe. The safest place when there's wires is to be inside the car. Just don't touch anything metal. Just stay in. I don't know where they figured that out, but they knew it.
Last question, how do I file a claim?
Well, go down. You can go down to the elementary school tomorrow and file a claim there. You can go online, and I think it's, you have a laptop. I think it's, if you just put in Vermont Emergency FEMA Reporting 211, if you put those strings in, you'll get the website. Vermont FEMA Emergency 211. And into your search engine, and you'll come up with the website.
Or call 211.
Right, or call 211. The only trouble with calling 211 is that they're busy. I mean, that's another place they're looking for volunteers. They're looking for 120 volunteers at the call center?
Yeah.
So
So
you can leave a message and they will call you back.
Oh, you got it.
yeah, so you Google just what he said. I typed in Vermont 211 and I typed in VT 211. It comes back with Vermont spelled out, 7 letters, and then 211.org.
That's
If
it.
you want the exact link. And it has a resident form, business form. You can file right online.
Yeah, it's pretty quick.
And if you'd rather deal with a real person, FEMA's got a trailer set up, and they also have an office inside the school. If you, right?
Yeah.
Hardwick Elementary. Yep.
Hardwick Elementary.
Cautionary note, I did some poking around by car. One of the problems will be replacing culverts. The culverts that are in place now are too small to handle a 100-year flood. If this happens every 5 or 10 years, there's going to have to be something more seriously put in place, much larger culverts. Because what was happening, the culverts couldn't handle the water flow. Either there was too much water or that they blocked with debris. The water then flowed over the road and ate out the tarmac or gravel, whichever the road was made of. And the problem, therefore, became much more severe, which is why you need to think in terms of a budget. It's going to be a lot more if you're going to fix this for the 100-year flood.
That's for sure. And the selectmen are meeting tonight, which is why we don't have a report from the town.
I probably don't need the microphone, but that's all right. So one comment, I didn't want to say it, I checked the Walgreens website. They're now saying the store is closed, the pharmacy is open with regular hours, which is that mobile pharmacy. I know someone who was there yesterday, so I think I can confirm that. I have a question though. Our first 2 speakers said what I interpret to be somewhat contradictory things in talking about the dam and the beach area of the lake. We first heard that it was a glacial moraine, and then we heard that it's ledge.
Yeah.
So those 2 things seem different to me. Do we know for sure what's really holding the lake back?
All I can say is, I don't know if there's ledge there or not. I've never dug in that. When I was a kid, we used to catch suckers off the dam. I realize, and I know there's a moraine there. And that moraine at one time, actually, I've at least along the east side, I've been able to track parts of the old Caspian shoreline when that moraine was active. But that was 13,000 years ago.
Good answer. Thanks.
Thank you, all the panel, for this valuable information. I live on Elligo Lake, which hasn't been mentioned, and I'm just curious about the potential of receding waters. I have a floating dock and could measure 4 feet in height at the height that Elligo went up. We are seeing receding. Is it just going to take the rain to stop for us to get back to normal levels?
Yeah, this took hours for Caspian to go up 27 inches. I don't know Elgo, and I don't know if you guys went up 4 feet. That's
4 feet.
Yeah. So again, you're in a shiz,
Yep.
a much sharper valley wall. Your lake normally flows to the south when it's low enough. When it's high, it's flowing in both directions. So it's a head float feeds 2 watersheds. So fortunately, you got 2 outlets right now. So hopefully it'll go down relatively quickly. But all of these are going to take weeks to go down. You know, we went up in 36 hours, 27 inches Caspian. We're down to 6 more to get down where we were 2 Sundays ago. So we've come down 20 inches of that. And my heart goes out to you. I'd love to check it and see with maybe someone else that, you know, is as key to your lake. So If we can, we will.
We've gotten 2 calls that are looking for the water to be tested if it's safe to swim in. So and we have kits, and we just have to figure out who's going to do the testing.
I'll test them.
Okay, call me.
I'm gonna go get a test kit tomorrow.
You can't. The lake test kits are different from the well kits.
Right. I have extra of the swim area kits, so you can see me
Okay.
Okay,
immediately.
him.
I'll give you 2 kits right away.
thank you.
Yeah.
I live on the Bend Road. One of the advantages of the Bend Road is they have to fix it immediately because all the trucks that are carrying fill have to use it. But I noticed that a lot of the big holes, the big bus-sized holes, were caused by culverts at the foot of driveways. Now, is it recommended that homeowners who want to be good doobies try and keep those culverts clear, or is that maybe a little dangerous and not recommended? The ones at the foot of the driveways.
Yes. A one-word answer. As a matter of fact, since my son lives on Reservoir Road, and I was helping him the day after where it was washed out, and I pulled someone had put a fence post right in the mouth of the culvert at one time, I assumed to mark the position of the culvert.
Oh.
So anyway, good practice, keep those culverts open.
But not during the storm. Not during the storm.
But that's when they clog up.
I understand that, but it's not safe.
Well, that was my question.
Yes, not during the storm. They keep them clean. They're gonna clog. It's just, I mean, talking about that debris field.
And Carl's very right, he's correct. And at the same culvert where I pulled out the fence post, I had a shovel, and it was a bear to get out of that because of the water pressure.
Right.
You're not going to be able to take care of things and adjust them during the storm.
And even after the storm, we were asked to take care of a culvert on Donner Road 2-3 days after the storm. We could do nothing about it. The water was still torrent through the culvert, and there were rocks this big around in the culvert that we couldn't even touch. So the culvert had to be replaced because there was no way to safely clean that culvert out, and it was a 3-foot culvert.
Wow.
Is the school okay?
Yes, all 3 schools, all elementary schools survived with no water damage at all.
Wow.
Yep.
So a number of you mentioned volunteer opportunities right now. Where does the general community find out that information if we weren't here tonight? You know, the listing of, oh, we need 100 people in this place or that place.
Right. So locally, the Civic Standard is organizing. Is that correct, Judy?
Yes.
Right.
What they did yesterday.
Yeah.
They're
Okay. So the Civic Standard locally is organizing for events around here. Again, 211 has a volunteer line. That's a call, and you can look at where volunteers are needed and sign up, or you can say we need help there, and they have people who will organize, get it online, and get help to you. So those are the 2. That's statewide, and the Civic Standard right now is sort of taking over the. I don't know if there's probably other opportunities in other ways, but those are the 2 I know about.
I'm John Schweitzer. I work with Stu on the water levels. Just so you know, Hardwick Electric owns the dam. Hardwick Electric does not have control of the water flow from the dam. That is a state decision. And so when Stu and I saw that the dam was about to breach, we called the state, and the state had to give Hardwick Electric and ourselves permission to open up the gate. So do not blame Hardwick Electric for the fact that the gate wasn't opened up until Monday night. It was really the state controls water level in the lake.
think maybe you're letting Hardwick Electric off too easy. Why didn't they call the state and ask them if they could open up the
Fair
dam?
question.